with her dancing self.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just got to start and say, I love me some black people. You hear me? Isn't it a good Friday? It is a good Friday. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Amen. Amen. We mean that. And I wanted to start with that song because sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget from which we came. And sometimes we believe that we made it. We ain't made it yet until all of our people are free. All of our people are free. Ain't none of us free. And what we said is, before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And so this is the moment I can get up here and I can talk and I had created, and I'll still read some of it, this wonderful speech for you. But I'm sitting here first before I go there. Listen, something for the people. Brothers, y'all, I forgot I was supposed to be giving a speech. This is a moment. Thank you for your gifting. And so I was reminded in this space that we do need to have joy. And we've got to anchor ourselves in joy, because part of what is happening right now is to wear us down, to make us believe that we are not powerful, to make us believe that we are something other than who we are. But let me tell you something. If God be for you, who can be against you? And so I'm saying this, that as we're talking about, this is the weekend of the resurrection. Whether you believe in Resurrection Day or not, I'm going to use this opportunity to say, black people, rise up. You must rise up in North Carolina. Y'all got to rise up. You come from a people that it was in our resistance that we became stronger. It has never worked when we bent the knee. It has never, when they're talking about these elements of fascism, we've been screaming it. We've been trying to tell America about what voter suppression will do. We've been telling America about what gerrymandering will do. All of those things. And so in this space, it seems like a setback. But I promise y'all, I believe that God is doing a setup. That we're in a midst of a moment. And I'm not going to over-romanticize this moment. This is a very difficult moment. Our people, there are many of our people that are going to be hurt during this process. From the federal level to the state level, it is time for you got to gird yourself up. It is time that you got to put on your armor. This is this time that you got to fortify yourselves. That we got to fortify ourselves of who we are and what it is that we see. And so in this moment, we gather here as a room full of leaders and elected officials and organizers, as a heartbeat of black communities all across North Carolina. We gather with the weight of history on our shoulders, but the wisdom of the ancestors, y'all, in our souls. I come to you today not just to worry about what we face, but y'all, we got to wonder about what we will become. Because there is a moment in this space. Make no mistake, we are witnessing the dismantling of democracy before our eyes. We are seeing the rise of authoritarianism and the echoes of the darkest chapters of this country's history. We're experiencing racism with an intensity and a boldness that stuns those that are on the front lines of this fight for decades. But I need y'all to hear me when I say this. What looks like a setback is actually a what? Is a setup. When our people were brought here on the shores in chains, we could not have imagined that their descendants would reshape the soul of this nation, that we would seek and actually get the highest seats in this land, that we would change the trajectory, that there were those that were known as the founders of this nation. We are the founders of democracy. And so we have to own that and claim that and remember that. And so what does that say in this moment? What are we being called to do in this moment? There are a couple of things. I'm going to start with one that I think in this moment we really do have to be reflective. We can't keep going along how we've been going along and think that is okay. And we can't think just because there's one racist that is in, who I call the Mad King, that is in office right now, that it all started with him, or will it end with him? That is requiring something different from us. What I believe is that we are being called to a higher place, that we're being called to a higher consciousness. How can we live in the wealthiest country in the world, and there are millions of people that are living in poverty? How can we sit still when we're seeing them try to literally cut over $880 million from Medicaid, when we know that the majority of our people are going to be hurt in that process and stay quiet? Many people, I've seen many folks, y'all have heard them, they say, "Oh Lord, if I was back in slavery, I would have done this and I would have done that." Whatever you're doing right now is what you would have been doing in slavery. If you are sitting and making sure that you're protecting your safety, that's what you would have been doing back then. If you're sitting and trying to figure out how you negotiate with folks, you would have been the same one. "All right, master, what we gonna do? What you need me to do?" If you are sitting in a space like that sister who would sneak those biscuits to the folk at the nighttime, where there were people that were literally sitting in trees and up under trees, literally trying to figure out how to escape, where there were people that were taking care of other folks' children, that is who your ancestors are. And so in this moment, we're being called to that. This isn't a moment for us to go back to sleep, because there are folk who know the danger of what it means to be woke. The fact that they don't want you. Think about it. Just think about it. Folks saying, "We don't want you to be woke." Well, what you want me to be? Sleep? I'm saying that because we got to look a little bit deeper in this space. And so I'm going to ask this question. I always ask it everywhere I go around the country. Whenever I speak, I'm going to ask you all in your seats. I know you're eating right now. I'm just going to give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you two questions. My first question to you is, what would this nation look like without racism? What would a work day look like? What would education look like? What would the economy look like? What would this nation look like without racism? And the second question is, what would it look like if all God's children were valued and respected? I ain't say you got to like them. I ain't say you got to get along with them. What would it look like for all of God's children to be valued and respected? Now open your eyes. Now I'm going to ask the question, and I got the light, but I do want to ask the question. How many of you out there have been asked that question before, other than the folk that work for me? If we work together, don't raise your hand. So I want y'all to look around the room. Thank you. It's probably like 3 people in here. Let me tell you, and this is not an indictment. I'm raising something. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. You ain't got to close your eyes. My question to you now is, someone name me anything that was created in the physical realm that was not first envisioned. Name me something. This podium, this dress, this stage. There has nothing that has ever manifested in the physical realm that wasn't first envisioned. And so let me ask this question, because I don't know about you, but racism ain't my inheritance. It is not my birthright. That is not how God created me, to be in a perpetual permanent system of that I'm going to be an underclass. No. But if it is to end, who y'all think is going to do that? If we are to create and reimagine something different, who will do that? And so I'm raising this because oftentimes we spend a lot of time, one of the things around racism, and I think Toni Morrison actually talks about it, she says that racism keeps you from your real work. Because part of what happens is it is designed in such a way to dehumanize you, to make you believe that you are less than. It is designed in such a way that all of your time and your energy and your innovation is literally how you're going to navigate somebody else's system for acceptance. Racist system, let's be clear. America was literally founded on white supremacy. We ain't going to act like nothing else. We ain't going to act like it was anything else. But God's truth can even shine through that. That all men and women were created equal and endowed by their Creator. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, we got to make that be real. We got to make that be real. And so there's a shift that has to happen. In this moment, why am I saying that it's not just a setback, that it is a setup? That part of what has happened is that literally we have put our fate on political parties, on people who literally our rights are based on the whimsical nature of somebody else saying if we should have them or not. I don't know about what y'all think, but there's this story that Reverend Barber, Bishop Barber talks about all the time. He talks about this story around when Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass was was doing this work around getting abolition. And he went, and the folks that he had been working with, he had been going to the White House, he had been doing all the things, and he thought that there was going to be some movement on it. And ultimately, some of the folks that were his allies actually sold him out. And he was defeated. He felt defeated. He felt like, why? Why am I continuing to do this? And Harriet Tubman, I need y'all to hear me, the spirit of Harriet in this room. She looked at him. She said, Frederick, is God dead? Is God dead? Because if God ain't dead, I ain't done yet. The story ain't over. And so on this moment that we are literally facing the largest crisis in this nation, this is time for you to put on your armor. You were created for this moment. My legislators that in this room, we know that you are fighting. And we've got to gird you up. You've got to have the courage, though, to stand and not be so connected to that seat that you say, I will give up this seat to protect my people. You're not going to literally tell me that I'm going to sell my folks out for a campaign donation. That I don't care about your ad. At the end of the day, I was put in position to represent my people. And the truth of the matter is, black liberation is not just for us. I am clear that all of God's people are going to literally be liberated. And our liberation ain't us waiting to convince other folks or to get their permission. The truth of the matter is, black people, when you believe that you shall be free, it ain't no gates in hell will stop you from doing that. And I'm saying that because there was some sister or some brother that 200 standing there where slavery had existed. Think about the one who was there at year 101. That there was 100 years of slavery before them. And then after them, there was 100 years. And they had the audacity to sit somewhere on a plantation and say, I don't care what y'all say. My children is going to be free. I don't care what, think about it. What would make you believe in freedom? And we are sitting here with resources and education and we cannot imagine it. Why is it that right after the end of slavery, there were over 80 cities that were founded by formerly enslaved Africans? How many cities we created now? With all the money and the wealth and the education. That the Federal Reserve, the Freedmen's Bank, had $51 million. Think about that. Of black folk, I'm quite sure they making $1 a week, $3. They were disciplined and determined in such a way that they made $51 million in deposits. White Wall Street, the same folks who it's the same story all over again. What happened to the $51 million? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what happened with the $51 million, that there were investors on Wall Street, that because this was the Black Freedmen's Bank money, they took that money and they lost every dime. Frederick Douglass, this was right after Lincoln had gotten assassinated. Frederick Douglass, what he did is he had $13,000, which was a lot of money, y'all. $51 million is a lot of money. That's a lot of money to me now. So imagine, he took $13,000 that he had saved his entire life, and he took that money and deposited in the Freedmen's Bank to try to save that bank. That literally education. Y'all know the story, that there were Black folk who said that we needed public education. That I can go through everything. What people don't know is folks don't know that they think that it was just the goodness of the good white folk that freed us, and not really recognize that yes, God has allies, because all of us are God's children. I'm clear about that, right? But let's be clear that there were what is called the colored conventions, right? I don't know if you knew this, but there were people that were having conventions that once they escaped from slavery and they were in Canada and other places, they were having Black summits, just like this, that did the work. Guess how many? Over 600 colored conventions that they know that are documented. Black folks were, I don't have my list right now. You will be amazed at the themes when they were coming. They were talking about, we're going to have housing. We're going to have education. We're going to have, part of what their thinking was a model of self-determination. And what this moment is teaching us, as when we get away from that and we put our faith and trust in systems that were not designed for us, it makes us vulnerable and our people die. And so we got to be sophisticated enough that we got to get what we got to get within these systems. But ultimately, the story can't stop there, because you can't use the master's tool to tear down the master's house. And we stopped thinking that we had to go forward. And so we started assimilating. All of us. I ain't blaming nobody, all of us. And so even we can talk about the Republicans, we can talk with those folks. I think I'm supposed to be nonpartisan, I'm not sure. Well, y'all know me. All right. I'm like on Devil in the Blue Dress. You knew who I was when you asked me that, right? Even that, we got to stop that. At the end of the day, we got to speak truth to power. And we've got to be able, because at this point, it ain't even really about party, Republicans and Democrats necessarily. It's about you either on the right side or you ain't. You are either with what is right or you not. And so some of the way that we've actually had to navigate or tried to navigate through politics in ways to actually, I'm going to give a little this so I can give this. Listen, y'all, we're at the point right now, we have to be relentless. We have to be unyielding. This ain't the time to be reasonable. This is the time to be radical. This ain't the moment to stand and we're going to stand and actually appeal to you. This is the moment is, if you come for me, there will be consequences. We've got to create a list right now. I call it, we got to have a black list. We're going to forget you because the pendulum is going to come around. And all of those that capitulated, we know who you are. We will remember you. And there shall be consequences. And we've got to be clear about that in this moment. And there will come a time, I know that we're not in the streets right now because we all know. We know how dangerous it is, right? But there will come a time that we're going to have to get in the streets. But we can't get in the streets this time the same way. It has to be disciplined. Our people have to be trained. We have to have the same kind of discipline, camaraderie, and training as we did in the civil rights movement. The bottom line is, when you don't fight in this country, you die. And I'm raising that because it's not just, that's one part of the story. Yes, we've got to fight, but we also got to dream. That this is the moment that you got to radically reimagine. every single system in this country, that we should be talking to each other, not about what it is we think we can win. Because I know that there's some of the strategies that you all have to use, and our brothers and sisters, and I want to say this, our brothers and sisters that are standing strong know that there are people that are going to come after them. How shall we respond? Right? We have to respond in a way that we protect them. When people show courage in our community, we've got to match that courage. We've got to show them. We've got to actually literally lift it up. It is time, mighty people, for you to rise up. We are on Good Friday, and my message today is to tell you that it is the moment for us to rise up. And what does that mean? That means that you've got to elevate our thinking. That we cannot continue to negotiate our lives based on, it's like a yo-yo. What party is in office determines whether my people die or not. That cannot continue. Right now, economically in this land, we would be the 12th largest country on the planet. Oh, that's some power. Yes, I like stuff. I really like stuff. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to do with my money is not give it to the same white folks who are literally aligning themselves with strategies and power to actually kill my people. I am not going to align and give my money and my investment with the same folks that literally are undermining education while they take the money and really, because y'all know this is the greatest heist ever. This is really about money and the concentration of power. And if you think it's anything else, you are confused. This ain't about policies. You got folks that saying that they care about abortion, but don't mind killing your children, killing your family. They don't care about that. They use it as a wedge issue to actually tap into the emotional truth, because there are some people that care about it. And it is a valid, nuanced, real, legitimate issue. But we cannot continue to let other people define the agenda, and then we're constantly in reactionary mode. We've got to do two things. We got to, one, we've actually got to, and as we are fortifying ourselves right now, you know, it's so much wisdom. My grandfather was born in 1905. My grandmother was born in 1910 that raised me, and I couldn't understand. They always kept money in the house. They always had money in the house, and I didn't really understand why they had money in the house. But the story is when the Great Depression happened, they were all right, because they was like, oh, baby, we ain't trust them people. They didn't put, I'm not telling you to take your money out the bank. What I am telling you is we got to think a little bit differently right now. We've got to think about how are we going to protect and provide for our communities. Because we think that right now, I think there's some sense that all we got to do is move this person out of office and it's going to snap back. No, it's not, y'all. The truth of the matter is he's the front man for a whole bunch of evil people who are using him and his popularity and his celebrity. You know this. And this ain't over, and this ain't something that's going to be over the next election cycle. And it will not be our politics that free us. It will be our humanity. I'm clear about that. But I am saying that because in this moment, we are experiencing this moment because we have an opportunity to reimagine. This is an opportunity and a moment for us to think about. We will never, ever allow our communities to be this vulnerable again. That we have got to get and create in a space. In North Carolina, all the black farmers, we should be meeting with black farmers and black food cooperatives and literally figuring out how we going to feed our people. And I'm not just talking, because certainly you ain't going to trust Publix. I hope they ain't one of your sponsors. You can blame it on me. And there are folks that really would like for us to act like nothing is happening. I cannot act like anything is not happening. Because it's bad. So today, they're snatching up our Latino brothers and sisters and immigrants off the street. Who y'all think they coming for next? They're taking incarcerated people and shipping them to El Salvador. Who do you think they're coming for next? And so my point to you, and the truth of the matter is, if they didn't come for us, the fact that they coming for any of God's children is my business. It is our business. Do you have the courage to stand in this moment? And courage actually requires fear. If you're not a little scared, it don't require no courage. You don't need no courage. We real courageous when we ain't got to do nothing, when there's nothing at risk. But a requirement of courage is in fact fear. And so in this moment that is fear, and those that are trying to put fear on us, it is a moment for us to really build that muscle of courage. That instead of us retreating or getting something that's reasonable, we should be going hard in the paint. For those that are actually trying to cut the budget, y'all should be leading on every 5 minutes they do that. They say they're going to cut the budget. All right, well, let's just go and talk about reparations. Come on. If you're going to tear it down, we're going to do something new. Let's do it. If we're going to talk about reorganizing the Supreme Court, let's go there. I'm saying that in this moment, on Good Friday, you have an opportunity to actually reassess and think about this moment. And what this moment is not just the politics in this moment. Because the truth of the matter, I wish many of us would like to blame the Republicans or the races and all of them and say, we got here because of them. No. I'm going to say this. Every time you pass by a hungry person, a houseless person, and do anything, you gave these folks permission. Every time you saw children and immigrants be treated and demeaned and undermined and marginalized, you gave power and validity to the folks that are in office now. Every time you said, them poor folk over there, them folks with the poor mentality over there that I don't want to be around, every time you supported that, you in fact helped create this moment that we're in right now. Because this moment that we're in right now was actually anchored in this belief that somehow the greatest gift that God ever gave us, which was human beings, that some way that is the least. In this moment, it's for you to check yourself. It is for us to check how we have all, including myself, I'm not calling you and say I've been person. I have been complicit and creating the circumstances that have led to a moment that is okay for some people to be dehumanized. Because some of us thought we could protect ourselves with our jobs. We could protect ourselves with our positions, with our organizations. That has never been the thing that has brought our people freedom or relief, ever. It is always us having the imagination. It is always us being organized. So now, if you are not meeting, whatever group you got, if you're in a group and they ain't meeting, they still talk about stuff, just tell them, I'm going to get back with y'all. When we come back, I'm going to get back with y'all. This is the moment to work. Soldiers, you're being called. You've been drafted. This is the moment that your organizations, your churches are going to have to open up. Yes, do your service XYZ, but there are going to have to be community centers. We're going to have to really think about how we're going to feed our people. We're going to have to figure out those that are going to be kicked off of disability. We're going to fight to prevent that, but y'all know what we up against. We cannot let our people be casualties of war. And so I wish I could come up and give you a nice strategy plan around policy, and I got those beliefs. This ain't the time for that. This is a time to gird up. This is a time to organize. This is a time to prepare for the next moment. This is a time, some of y'all in organizations, y'all ain't talking, y'all don't like each other. I don't care. This is a time that y'all got to be friends. You got to gird up right now. You got to arm in arm right now. You got to create the front line in this space. And so I'm getting ready to go to my seat. said, I'm going to go to my seat, that I want you all to shift. Shift. Stop seeing yourself as citizens, just citizens of a rogue nation that was founded on the backs and the blood and the labor of your people. And start seeing yourselves as founders of a new America. Start seeing yourselves, because founders act different. Because the folks that are up there right now, oh, they are like, they're like, oh, we ain't got to do none of this. We ain't seeing this. We about to create something different. Elon is literally trying to figure out how he can create and go to Mars. I swear, I hope he does. I'm like, I wish y'all had the best resort. Have all the things. Have the resort, get the best food. Okay, we good. Say them. And y'all think I'm playing. Actually, go look at it. He actually supports something, right, really is around this dark universe, this whole idea of technocrats running the world. We're not making this up. We're in a different kind of season. This isn't traditional politics. And we can't continue to act like we don't know because it's uncomfortable to sit in it. Because you think it's uncomfortable now. If we don't gird up and organize ourselves now and organize our communities, you ain't even seen discomfort yet. And that's right. Let me tell you the difference. Citizens petition. Founders create. Citizens request. Founders establish. I ain't even say demand. Establish. Citizens seek inclusion. Founders determine the principle upon which all are included. When I say a new nation, I'm not speaking of some distant land or territorial separation. I'm speaking of something more powerful. I'm speaking of communities bound by values, vision, and love that transcend the limitations of all these current structures. I need you to think. I need you a new nation where our economic systems are built on cooperative ownership in economics, not extraction. A new nation where that we see our education systems honor ancestral wisdom alongside forward innovation. I'm not begging you to do my history. Are you out of your mind? I am Black history. I walk through the world. My work, it will create Black history. That's what you have to see. We have to pull our children together. We've got to pull our communities together in that space. That we have to really look at in this gird up protection without a vision. It's just a holding pattern, y'all. And resistance without reimagining is just a reaction. And so in this moment, what do we do? In this moment, we have to really do an assessment of, really have an honest assessment of our organizations. Not in a way that's about judgment, but we do need to know where our organizing capacity is. Where are the groups that actually need to support? Some groups might need to merge. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying this. This ain't about no 501c3 status. This ain't about getting no credit, because ain't nobody gonna get no credit if we suffering. So we have to start thinking a little bit different outside the box. Even our policymakers, that some things you need to be difficult on just because. Don't nothing get through. If we can't get nothing through, if you can't do nothing else but just be a stick in the spokes and slow it down. That this ain't the moment for us to be in some sophisticated policy fights. Because y'all know what way that's going to go. Like, really, you know what era that's going to go. This is a moment that you have to actually be unyielding in our demands. That this is the moment that you have to be talking to your constituents, not just about you getting elected around the things that you want to do around some policy. This is the moment that you use your power and your platform to pull your people together, to actually start imagining, giving them hope, getting them organized, so that when it is the time for we make the call of action, we have people on the front lines. This is the moment that if you are a business owner, you've got to use your resources not so you can expand and buy another car. I want you to have another car. I like cars. I buy them. They're beautiful. But this is the moment that you got to figure out you might have to use that space to buy a van for an organization that does not have one. This is the moment that the church, that you might have to actually use the media space, that you are collecting and documenting stories of people who are impacted. This is the moment that if you have medical facilities, that if you're doing, you might have to open that up. You may have to not take Medicaid and serve your people. And I know we all got to make it. I got it. But we've got to spread out so that literally we don't get destroyed. It is that what time it is that we're in. So the good news, because I came to bring the good news. The good news on Good Friday, as I know people who didn't have anything, that came here bound in chains, that were dehumanized, that didn't have their language, that came from different countries. That I know people that they came from, there were 10 million of their people that didn't even make the journey. The fact that you are here is that you are the descendant of those who refuse to die. That even reminded you of who you are. I heard a leader say this years ago, that at the point of conception, there are millions of sperm that are trying to make it to an egg. Now, the interesting thing is hundreds of thousands of them are so confused they can't even find the fallopian tubes. There's a couple of other 100,000 of them that actually, when they find the tube, they are not strong enough to make the journey. There are others, hundreds of thousands of others, that when they're making it, they're not strong enough to get through. So they fall out. So then by the time they get to the egg, it's a couple of 100,000 that are trying to penetrate the egg. And the egg is really interesting. It is the egg that decides and accepts and selects only one sperm. Now, why is that relevant? Because every single person on this planet, in this room, look around. For you to be on this planet, you were the strongest, the smartest, you literally, aside from that, and you were selected. Your presence is a miracle. So if we walk around recognizing that race is an artificial construct, that what we are, that civilization was created by an African woman, your ancestor. Our issue ain't about what they gonna do. Our issue is what are we gonna do? If we continue to think the same way, and I'm not saying this in a space of being and critique of what's happening, because all of us on some level believed in the promise, not in America as a nation state, but the promise is a beautiful promise. But we also got to know that we are in a third reconstruction. Even in the Constitution, it says that when government no longer serves the people, it is the right of the people to replace it, to change it, or to abolish it. Those not my words. That's what the founders said. So if we want to quote the founders, if we have a need to do that, the founders of America, the nation that I see is a nation that is not just the wealthiest in the world. Yeah, that's not what I'm judging about. I want a nation that is the healthiest in the world. The nation that I see understands that it is that very diversity that makes it great. The nation that I see has the courage that all of God's children are treated with dignity and respect, whether you like them or not. The nation I see has a government that understands that we are not in service of a government, but that it is to be in service of us. I actually disagree, even though I'm at the Kennedy School, I actually disagree with what JFK Jr. said, not ask what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. Now, maybe some folk could do that. But at the end of the day, we're going to flip that thing around. You absolutely right government should be serving us. You're absolutely right that it should be taking care of its people. We have to have the courage. Did y'all know in the Democratic National Convention in 1972 that one of the things on the platform was housing for all and guaranteed jobs for all? We've gotten so far from that now we're actually negotiating our own pain. The good news is that God has given you the opportunity, what I call the 4V strategy. The first V is vision. I want y'all to ask yourself that question every day. What would this nation look like without racism? And I want you to think about it, because then it'll make you start thinking. They were like, you got to go. The second V is around voice. How are you using your voice in this moment? And the other, we can't even trust mainstream media right now. So there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation getting our people. You have got to use your power and your communication with your family. Are y'all sitting your families down and talking to them and see where to get the information from? The third V is around values. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, this ain't a political fight. Our politics, we can't policy weigh ourselves out of this. This has to be a shift in our values. The way we see ourselves, the way we see each other, the way we see the world. We've got to start seeing ourselves that literally we are the great liberators, not just of ourselves, but the entire world. And then the fourth V is really there has to be a shift in the paradigm of what we see as a victory. That ultimately we think that an election is the victory that we need. And not understand that the electoral politics was never the end, it was a means to an end. That at the end of the day, that we are putting people in position to actually serve and create and bring about a greater vision. So we leave this place, not just as leaders of organizations, leaders of institutions, but start thinking as founders of a new nation, a nation whose borders are not geographical, but are ethical, that are based in integrity, a nation whose citizens are not just granted by some documents, but that we understand the commitment that we have a responsibility of all taking care of that, making sure that all human beings, I can mistreat you because you got a different color passport. Think about how crazy that is. A nation whose power comes not from domination, but for love. That to lean into this moment. This is our moment. This is our mandate. This is our movement. On this Good Friday, I'm going to say, somebody who believe in or celebrating this holiday, y'all know the story. Y'all know the story. Y'all know what happened in 3 days. Right? And it's going to look hard. And you got to go through something. We might go through hell. But you got to be prepared for the resurrection. And in preparing for the resurrection, that means you've got to be thinking beyond not just this moment, but how are we going to rise up? What is it that we're going to do differently so that we will never be in a position that we will be this vulnerable again? That we will use our gifts and our talents and our treasures to move forward. That we would actually see that this moment that we see as the dark night of the soul, that there was a woman named Harriet Tubman that followed what was called, who could neither read or write, but followed something that was called the North Star. And I looked up the North Star, and the North Star, I thought it was the brightest star in the sky. It is not the brightest star in the sky. It is the star that is the most dependable and is most consistent. You can see the North Star every night after night. But I also found out was something that's called a dead star, or what I had called a phantom star by mistake, the dead star. You know what the dead star is? The dead star is a star that you can see in the sky right now, but it's been dead. The only thing that you are seeing is the residue of its former glory days. It is no longer in power. Right? When we recognize that Custer is on his last stand and that he is fighting like hell to survive, But we over that. We ain't marching across no more bridges, talking about no voting rights. We're not doing that in the same way. No, we're not. We've got to be more sophisticated. Not that we're putting back protests because we probably had to go to the street. We've got to be more sophisticated and recognize that you don't determine what I get. You don't determine how I move. You don't determine the quality of my life. I will do that because I'm not just a citizen. I am the founder. I am mothers and fathers of a new nation. That it is in the nighttime that you can see stars. You can go out right now. There's stars out in the sky. You can't see them, but it's in the night. So in this moment, in the dark night of America's pitiful soul, this is when the stars should shine in the sky to be a North Star for our folks going forward. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Amen. Be that star. This is our moment. Black voters matter. When I say love, you say power. Love, love. When I say power, you say love. Power, power. Peace out. Thank you, brothers and sisters.